Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Tina, how you doing?
I'm doing good, JP. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. There's ice and snow everywhere around my house, so this is great.
Well,
It's a great time.
speaking as an American who lives in the South, you Canadians need to come get your winter. It's running around drunk in our backyards. We don't like this.
I mean, I like my winter home, so I'm good. I'll go get them if you want. I'll join you a little bit, maybe for a couple of months, stay out there, and then come back whenever winter's over. I'll try to kick him back over here.
Come on down and thaw out.
All right. Well, everyone, we're gonna start any minute now. We're just gonna let everybody join in a little bit. Welcome to our first Aligned Agility webinar. We're very excited to have you all on board. I know Tina's been working really hard on this one. A lot of great stuff coming. So, yeah, if you're in Canada, cozy up inside, grab a cup of coffee. Uh, and
Yeah, well, if
if
you're
you're
in
in
Texas, it's a cuddle up inside and grab a cup of coffee today too. Hopefully everybody's staying warm out there.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I know, like when it's the temperature you guys have right now, you still like wearing heavy coats and stuff. I'm on my spring jacket right now. It's if I was up there.
No, I pulled the parka out. Fortunately, I lived in Nebraska for 20 years where it's this time of year, it's typically colder than Juneau, Alaska. So I do still have a parka. I pulled that out this morning when I went outside to walk the dog.
Good. I mean, I've never been to Nebraska, but I do hear that it's more akin to the Canadian weather.
It is
I think
indeed.
we got some people in, Tina. Do you wanna go?
Yeah, I think let's go ahead and get started. I'll just add, if you guys have questions as we're going along, feel free to pop them into the chat link on the webinar and we'll answer those as we can.
Absolutely. Right.
So I think just a little bit of an intro for everyone. My name is Tina Bears. I am the Vice President of Enterprise Agility here at Aligned Agility, an Adaptivist group company. Adaptivist acquired Aligned Agility in the fall of last year, and we're very excited to be part of the Adaptivist group overall and as Platinum Atlassian partners, bringing together the full Atlassian tool stack to help our customers achieve agility and help their transformation efforts. Joining me today is JP, as we refer to him here internally. JP, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Tina. Yeah, I'm JP. I'm a senior customer success advocate here at Adaptivist, working with the Aligned Agility team, getting them kind of onboarded and working with the Adaptivist group, and been very focusing on what we're doing here at Aligned Agility, Jira Align, and Enterprise Agility, and just excited for this webinar today to not only showcase to everybody what we've been doing and what you've been doing, Tina, but also for me to learn more about, how to manage transformation and how to bring it to success. So very excited about it. So yeah, we'll move on to introductions very quickly. We'll just go over um, going back to our relationships to Atlassian. We know the Atlassian space inside out here at Adaptivist and Aligned Agility, and we work incredibly hard to earn that spot in Atlassian's worldwide partner marketing and ranking. We have incredibly close working partnership with Atlassian, and they'll often come to us with challenges and ideas, asking us to help them create solutions. One
Sorry about
area which it's all good. One area which we've seen extreme growth in, mainly due to sunsetting of server licenses, but also as a reaction to COVID-19, of course, is cloud or data center migrations. In this space, we were awarded Atlassian's Partner of the Year 2020 migration, as we were successful in migrating some of the most complex and major instances from our customers. If you're interested in learning more about that, we do have a lot of case studies around ARM and some of our other customers that we've helped. So on top of that, our HQ is located in London, UK. We've expanded drastically, and now we have 13 offices across 6 countries. So we really have a global presence. This enables us to support our clients no matter where in the world they operate. Now we also are able to offer 24-hour support on our apps and our services. Although we have a number of offices, we've always believed in a blended mix of office and remote work. And the same goes for our delivery. So actually, when COVID-19 hit, we found ourselves in quite a strong position as we were already set up to succeed in that aspect. And finally, just to showcase some of the services and solutions that we support, specifically in the transformation business, we have a wide portfolio of services and products that we offer. We really focus on what our clients are trying to achieve, what pain points you're dealing with, and we want to align people, process, and tools for success in the end. So a few of our specialties that we have with our customers is a holistic approach to transformational enterprise consulting and technology solutions leveraging agile, scaled agile, DevOps, ITSM, and ESM practices. We have a professional services arm, so that includes migrations, integrations, tools optimization, process improvements. And of course, we have our managed services that includes the tool administration on the front end with Assist and our infrastructure management with Operate. So with that, I've kind of gone through my spiel of what Adaptivist and Aligned Agility is. Tina, would you take the floor?
Certainly, and actually, JP, I'm going to ask you to keep the floor. We have a poll question for everyone,
Oh,
just to kind of get us kicked off.
perfect. I love it. All right, let me put that poll out there. So hopefully everybody can see the poll. Our question is, does your organization use OKRs today? So you're either, have you been using it for more than a year? Are you just starting, or are you not using OKRs, objective key results? So if you want to please enter your answer, that'll kind of help us kind of kick off our conversation and maybe kind of get an idea of where everybody's at.
So these numbers are coming in pretty close to where I figured they were going to come in.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
OKRs are something that's, they've been around for a really long time, but they're making a comeback, so to speak, especially when we start talking about agile transformations. So we're going to wait just another minute here for the rest of the answers to come in, and then we'll show you guys the poll results, talk about those just a little bit.
Yeah, really interesting. I mean, don't call it a comeback, right? Uh, I mean, it's I know a lot of our customers are just are thinking, and I'm not even looking at the poll results yet, but a lot of our customers are thinking about OKRs and how to implement and what does it mean to really move on to OKRs and start using them on a daily basis. So this will be very interesting. All right, I think we have close to most of our attendees haven't responded. We're going to close down the poll with, very interesting numbers. Yeah. So let me share the results. All right, here they are.
Can everyone see the results?
I'm going to assume yes. Can you see the
So
results, Tina? Yeah.
I can. So we had 48% that said, no, we do not use OKRs. So hopefully throughout the webinar today, we're going to give you some information on, really what OKRs are and how to really be effective in using those. Then we've got about 30% that says they've just started using OKRs. That's about what I'm seeing in the industry. Give or take somewhere between 25, 30% of our customers, and those are customers, going back in my career, even back as far as AgileCraft days and Atlassian, we had, somewhere around 20, 30% that were starting to dabble with OKRs. There's been a lot of talk around OKRs and really a resurgence of measuring what matters across software, hardware, business in general over the last, especially 2 years. So good to see that our participants here are in that same range. And then we've got just about 21% that has been using them for a year or more, which is really encouraging. So those of you who've been using them for a year, hopefully I'm going to give you some additional tidbits on how to become even more effective with OKRs.
Perfect.
So starting off, let's just frame up what OKRs really are. There's been quite a bit of confusion and I don't want to use the word misrepresentation, but maybe not complete detail around the differences between OKRs and some of the other techniques that we've used through the years. So an OKR really, it means objective key result, right? It is a method of setting a goal, and that's one of the questions that I get a lot. What's the difference between a goal and an OKR? Well, the OKR really takes that goal to the next level by tying in how we're going to communicate it, how we're going to measure the results to know that we've accomplished that goal. And most importantly, measure that incrementally. You know, back in the day, we used to set these big, long strategic plans, 3 years, 5 years, break those down into 1 year, and we thought that was good enough. And along the way, things got lost because we didn't really measure, didn't track those, didn't decompose them into measurable, consumable bits. Well, that's really where the magic of OKRs comes into play. Once you set your objective, now setting those key results. So objectives can be set from everything from office operations. How much paper am I consuming? Am I saving the world by getting rid of paper? Product development, of course, engineering efforts, both software, hardware, and everything in between. Team goals, individual objectives, the whole gamut can be used for OKRs. Now, where we get into some disagreement or some confusion between goals and OKRs is how we measure them. How long should I be measuring an OKR? And not to give too much of a consulting answer, but it really depends. You know, some organizations will have goals that certainly are not achievable in a single quarter. Does that mean that I should only measure that goal once a year or once every 3 to 5 years? Absolutely not. So typically, even for longer term goals, we want to make sure that we're measuring them at a minimum quarterly. If we can measure them less than that, excellent. Get the measurements as adaptive and as frequent as possible without it becoming task management for your end users and the people who are delivering on these. The duration is one area where a lot of executives that we work with will question, you know, how long should I wait to measure? If I built my OKR last week, can I measure it this week? How do I measure it? One of the recommendations that we make is that you make some subjective judgments. So I might decide that for my strategic objective for the year of increasing product market penetration by 20%, that I want to measure that quarterly. Well, as we get into it and start measuring, maybe after the first quarter, we realize that we can decrease that measurement cycle, thereby giving us more leading indicators as opposed to lagging indicators. So if I'm a product company, let's pick on Google for a minute. They release a huge number of code releases a day into their environment. If they are measuring these on a quarterly basis, they might miss something, but if they're measuring daily, maybe they're over measuring. The effectiveness of the latest release on the moving the needle on whatever that OKR is what we're after. So don't be afraid to adjust your measurement intervals is the point of that.
Tina, we have a quick question in the chat. I just thought if you could answer. Fadila is asking, what's the difference between an OKR and a KPI?
That's a terrific question. So a KPI is when we are actually measuring something that we do today. We know how we do it. We know what our performance needs to be. So KPI, I do this thing today, I do it well, I want to make sure I keep doing it well. An OKR is really about measuring for change, for improvement. So stretching, making sure I'm doing something different, something new, something to move the needle beyond current success.
Okay, perfect. So one is about maintaining services and standards, and then the other one is about improving, changing, and doing better.
Correct.
Lovely. Thank you.
Certainly, and thanks for that question. Benefits. What are some of the benefits of OKRs? I am a big fan of John Doerr. He wrote the book, What Matters Most. There's a quote on the bottom, which is from a gentleman named Andy Grove. He was a Holocaust survivor, went to work for Intel, and really is the inventor, air quotes, of OKRs. And it's really a management technique. Again, going against what a KPI is. An OKR is a management technique to set down what I need to do as an organization to be better at something. In John Doerr's book, What Matters Most, he talks about measurement by facts. So is it focused? Is it aligned? Have I communicated it? How am I tracking it? And is it forcing my organization to stretch and grow? So with each one of these are things to think about as you're building those key results to measure against. When I write my objective, is it aligned with higher level goals? Is it aligned with the direction of the company? Is it aligned with the products and services that we offer? Is it focused on those products and services? Is there commitment across the organization that has to contribute to it to really participate? Because if I don't have commitment for participation or for action, what's the likelihood that any change is going to happen? Generally not very good, right? And how am I tracking it? So when I start tracking, thinking about what sorts of things might move the needle versus big lofty goals is really how I want to track them. And we're going to start talking about different types of tracking. I mentioned earlier leading versus lagging indicators. We see that phrase used a lot in other agile techniques such as value engineering, where I come up with a hypothesis that if I do something, it's going to add additional value in these ways. And I might want to check leading indicators. So if I make a new product announcement release, how many clicks do I have on the website for information about it? How many downloads do I have? And those are great leading indicators. Lagging indicators might be, what's my retention after the product has been downloaded? What's the usage rate? Are those people who downloaded it, the application continuing to use it? Have they abandoned it? No usage. Lagging indicators. So I'm doing both of those. When we talk about key results, we want to talk about looking at value-based results and activity-based results. Those can be both leading and lagging. Was there another question? No, okay, sorry.
No, we don't have any. Sorry. No, everything's
good. And then stretching. So if we think about, for example, in an organization, we might have an objective to roll out DevOps practices across the engineering stack. For tracking, I may have some activity-based things, and maybe for stretch, I might want to say, a stretch goal is we would fully integrate, or a stretch objective, we would want to fully integrate our DevOps stack or our CI/CD stack, including code management and test automation. Big stretch goal. Now, how do I break that down and manage those or measure success along those? Now, some key measures to consider when you're talking about your, one quick thing. There's a quote that I've captured at the bottom of this slide. Workers should be responsible for setting their own goals, and every member of a company counts. Frequently, what I have seen when I work with organizations on OKRs is the executive leadership teams will set out OKRs, and then the leadership or the executive leadership team wants to define individual or team-based OKRs that contribute. Those are perhaps and frequently not really in alignment with what the teams are doing, what the individuals are doing, their job functions, their career goals. So as leaders in an organization, we should refrain from setting goals for individuals or individual teams. Setting the larger objectives with key results that we want to measure against and allowing those teams and individuals to create their own objectives, their own goals will get you that commitment, that buy-in. Begin to change the mindset on how we are operating as an organization. I think everybody on the call will agree when something is forced upon you with little to no communication, it takes a bit longer to adjust to that than allowing you to contribute for yourself and provide your own feedback into that action. Same concept should apply here. I strongly discourage organizations from having the management structures set individual and team objectives. Allow those groups, individual or teams, to set their own objectives with key results to contribute to the larger objectives of the organization. Whether that's the company, a division, a department, a product within the group. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now. So some key things to measure and consider for measurement. JP, did you have something?
No, I did not. I was just saying you were fine to get off of it if you wanted to, or you could stay on it if you wanted to either.
So one question from Ali, are you offering any OKR training on process and tools to support? Yes, we do. That is part of the aligned agility offering that we have is around OKRs. For OKR training, we are tool agnostic, although we do, of course, offer options for tooling around OKRs through our partner network. So some considerations for OKRs. Frequently we always think about the value. Well, what does value mean? So 4 key components for considerations: the value, the culture, the predictability, and the mindset. And there's going to be some ahas and gotchas in here. So value, talking about value, what does that mean? So we can talk about things like our market position. What's our market penetration? Are we the product of choice? How readily does communication from us get consumed, adopted, reacted to in social media? Any of those things like that. Culture is a big one for me. This is one of my favorites to get on a bandbox over. When we start talking about transformation or objective realization, we forget frequently that it's people who make that stuff happen. As a leader in an organization, we should always be looking for how we can make the lives of the people who work with us, around us, and for us better. So ensuring that we are measuring the cultural adjustments or changes of any change that we're inflicting in the organization should be part of our consideration. What's our employee NPS scores looking like? Has our employee engagement gone up, gone down, gotten really bad? Are we continuing to get employee referrals? Have those slacked off? And there's one on the bottom that I often get. What does that mean? Nico Nico. In agile practices, Nico Nico quite literally translates to happy happy. So it's the team or individual happiness score. How are we feeling as an individual or as a team about what's happening around us? Making sure that these scores especially are tracked and paid attention to can be the thing that either accelerates or kills your objective realization. Predictability. We hear a lot about predictability in agile spaces, right? The whole thing of going to agile is to be more predictable. What exactly does that mean? are we delivering what we said we were going to deliver? And is it making a difference? So Agile's about, we said we were going to do X. Did we do X? Maybe, that's great. But did it make a measurable difference in the market? If I said I was going to increase number of clicks on a website, that's awesome. Or number of followers on my social media account. Well, if I get more followers or more clicks on the website, does that actually mean anything to the bottom line? Is that what we should be measuring? The value delivered is in utilization of those services or products, right? So let's measure, did that change have the intended effect of retaining more customers or adding more customers? And quality is another big one. If I release stuff frequently, it gets used for a bit, but the quality's bad, I'm not going to retain my customers. So my quality needs to be predictable, it needs to be measurable, and I need to have some key results around that. Now, mindset. Mindset is another one of those things, especially in the agile space, where, especially in the last 6 months, there's been an uptick in agile is about a mindset change. Well, yes, but what does that mean? Really that means, am I changing how people interact and behave around me? Am I being more innovative in getting my products to market? Just notice those bullets are a little strange there. Is my participation internally in new initiatives being affected by these changes? Am I getting things better, done better? Is my collaboration increased? Has my communication in core groups of people increasing, decreasing, staying the same? Was there a question?
No, you're doing great. I'm
clearly
living it,
just
son.
hearing things today because I'm cold.
Oh, it's about the thing again. Yeah, well, but I think you bring up great points about the people part of this, right? Even if you have the best OKRs and you really thought your goals through, how is it impacting your people? How is it impacting your process and everything? So sorry, please go ahead, continue.
It really does. And we're going to talk about some of the common pitfalls next. I hope y'all like the Smurfs as much as I did growing up. Vanity Smurf there, he's one of my favorites. Vanity metrics, things like clicks on a website, that's one of my personal pet peeves. I'm sure y'all have picked up on that now. Does it really mean anything? So vanity metric is something that we measure to show how great we are that really doesn't move the needle to helping us achieve our objectives or goals. Clicks on a website is a good one. Number of downloads or number of social media followers. And I know everybody's social media obsessed these days, or seems to be. But does that really affect the quality of what you're doing or the satisfaction of your employees? Your NPS scores across your customer base. If not, you might be measuring a vanity metric. Now, there are situations where clicks on a website or product downloads are certainly very valuable. Just make sure that those aren't the only things you're measuring. Fake news. Are the measures or the objectives that we are tracking, are they misleading? Are they clear? Are they written very clearly, very concisely? Have we communicated them well? What we want to have not happen is the measurement and management of OKRs become an administrative tool function. If the folks aren't participating, then all we're doing is clicking buttons in a tool and we're not going to affect a change. So making sure that it's not just about the tool, it's about the behaviors, the actions, the results. Next up is the ratios, and this becomes a trigger point for lots and lots of organizations. There's one customer that I worked with very recently where there were 47 OKRs around the agile transformation at the strategic and portfolio level. And the mandate was that for each one of those, for each department, there be 2 to 4 each layer as I go down the organization. So now by the time I get to the individual OKRs, each person was going to be, by that math, expected to have on the order of 140 OKRs per quarter. When shall I do my job? Making sure your ratios are fair, consistent, achievable. As a general rule of thumb, if you have more than, if you're going down to the team level or the individual level even, if you've got more than 1 or 2 OKRs that are being measured in a quarter, they need to be very finite, very clear, not misleading at all, and not vanity metrics in order for them to have any hope of moving the needle forward. Just a general rule of thumb. I've been disproven on my rules of thumb in specific situations, and that's something else that I would add here in the ratio. Even though I have said those are rules of thumb, and there's lots of great articles written in the World Wide Web on OKRs, making sure that they are meaningful to your culture, your company, your products is key. Another thing to stay away from, and we touched on this briefly, a KPI and an OKR, not the same thing. Don't mix those up, and I've seen that happen quite a lot. And my last bullet point, this goes back to the quote from Andy that was on the earlier slide. Defined by management top down always tends to be extraordinarily disruptive and counterproductive to moving the needles. So allow the refinement, definition, and measurement at each level to be done by the person or persons who's contributing to that OKR. If it's an individual OKR level, then Tom, Sue, Harry, Jack, Bob, and Jen should be allowed to do their own. Tie them up appropriately to the team level, make the collective decision as a team which program level, solution, portfolio, or corporate level that is going to contribute to. Next up, pitfalls to avoid: not targeting your OKRs. And not targeting can mean a lot of different things, right? They can be measured infrequently, not at all, once a year, not aligned with corporate objectives or key results. And my favorite annoyance and thing that I will strongly advise you to stay away from: never, ever, ever, ever link OKRs to an employee's annual or otherwise performance review. Reason I say that, I have seen many, many times over my career where when we define OKRs for an organization, take those down to a team level, market conditions change, things happen, we have to reprioritize and adjust. It's called being adaptive. It's the whole point of becoming an agile organization, right? Well, when those market conditions change and that objective that started at the top and has floated all the way down to Bob, Sue, Harry, and Jack gets closed because it's no longer a value. If that's part of their annual performance, what happens now? They didn't meet their objective, not by their fault or anything they did or didn't do, but because market conditions changed. So making sure they're targeted, valuable, and not punishable. And JP, we have one more poll question.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask actually. So we know that now 80% of the people on this webinar that have responded to the poll are either in the beginning, sorry, not 80%, what am I saying? 50% are either beginning or have been using OKRs for more than a year. So we were going to ask, what tool are you using, or what are you using to track your OKRs? So let me put that poll up. So yeah, what are you using for OKRs? Are you still tracking them, or are you tracking them manually with Excel or something like that? Are you using a tool set, or again, are you simply not tracking OKRs at this point? Not KPIs, OKRs. That's the one thing I for sure learned today, at least, is the difference between an OKR and a KPI. But so much great stuff for sure.
And JP, while we're waiting on the poll results, another question that I get a lot along the lines of the KPI, what's the difference between a goal and an OKR?
Hmm.
Now that's a little bit of a loaded question, right? So
Yeah, isn't it?
an objective, an OKR really is a goal. The
Yeah.
difference is in those key results and how I'm going to measure it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow, 50, look at that. Great
Wow.
responses. And that's again about what I've been seeing in the space.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, so what have you seen when people are tracking OKRs manually? Have you seen mostly like Excel spreadsheets, stuff like that being used to track them?
Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoint. Yeah,
PowerPoint. Infamous PowerPoint. Yeah.
the ever popular PowerPoint. I did run across a customer very recently they had set up a very special SharePoint site, um, and we're using that to attempt to track their OKRs.
Inside of SharePoint with, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, organizations, especially that have been doing this for a long time, do love their PowerPoints. That is something I've learned doing Atlassian and working with Atlassian for so long, is how many creative ways people can find to use PowerPoints. I find it very creative. We're getting close to about 50% people answering. I'm guessing a lot of the people also are basically not tracking OKRs at this point, as we had a pretty significant group that are not doing OKRs. So,
Yeah, we did.
do you want to maybe talk about the results? Maybe we close this out and
Yeah,
showcase
let's go
kind
ahead
of the
and close it
results.
out.
All right. So hopefully everybody sees the results.
So we've got about 30%, 38% not tracking OKRs at all. That's in line with what we got in the earlier poll. So out of the ones who are tracking, 48% tracking manually. That is not surprising. And then we've got 14% using an OKR tool set. I will say from my experience in the last probably 2 years, there's been a large number of dedicated OKR tool sets that have entered the market space. So very interesting results, especially the tracking manually. I go back to years gone by when I had to track OKRs for a very large corporation. Just my department took just a ridiculous number of man hours to track, load into the spreadsheets, upload into PowerPoints, and present every month. It was ridiculous. So hopefully we're going to be able to talk about some new ways to help you. We're going to show you one tool today. We're going to show you how Jira Align uses OKRs and aligns it to key work objects. Now, as we go into that, I want to talk about, just kind of give you a little bit of an example. So an objective, just caveat, this is not a well-written objective statement. I would refine this a bit more, but this is how I usually see these come out. We want to transform into a product-centric organization. And usually that's all that is said. One of the key attributes to a good OKR is to say, as measured by. So right in the description, we are setting the stage for how or what the indicators are by which we are going to measure our success. So in this case, the speed with which we deliver quality products and increase our customer base. So I've laid out the framework there for 3 different sets of metrics. So now we talk about our key results. Those three things, good guardrails for me to now decompose into key results. Now I talked about some different types of key results. Activity-based key results. And then we have value-based key results. What the heck does that mean? Let me show you. So our objective is to transform project to product. We've all heard that phrase, I'm sure. So an activity-based result, training has been completed for 40% of my leadership team on what product agility means. The value-based result, I now have 20% of my leadership engaged in a product-centric model. What does engagement mean? They're communicating, they're collaborating, they're building out product objectives, helping it work in the process to get this done. An activity-based result is I have defined a transformation roadmap. A value-based result, 35% of my employees have responded favorably in the NPS survey on how the transformation is impacting their work environments. Activity-based result, and this is a big one that we hear with Jira Align. I need to see my entire backlog. I can't see my backlog. Well, that's great. So now we put in Jira Align. We will be able to give you full transparency in the backlog of everything being done by every agile team or Kanban team in your organization. What does that mean? A value-based result out of that, and something that truly did happen with a customer, is the elimination of $2 million worth of duplicative backlog work in 2 quarters. That's pretty significant by any stretch of the imagination. So now let's talk about, and these are 2 images that you'll see when you get do the replay. I'm actually going to go live into Jira Align and show you these as well. Jira Align gives us 2 views of our OKRs nested. So we have something that's referred to as the objective tree report, nice static Excel spreadsheet, PowerPoint looking view. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see we've got 2 different sets of progress bars. We've got key results progress. So that's the indicator of how I am completing those key result measures. And then next to that, we have work. So if I have work being done that is contributing to the completion of that activity, and that is one of the unique things within OKRs that has started emerging. And this is something that Jira Align has done since the onset of OKRs, is tying work to key result objectives. So I can know that not only is my key result being achieved, but the work necessary to support that continued stability or growth for that measure is being put in place. Many of the organizations that I've worked with where key results have been around agile transformation, we actually will build out things like the training, DevOps, tooling, coaching. And as individuals and teams are completing that training and the new tool adoption, it's completed. It's work that's been done. It takes capacity. It takes away from your velocity to do those things. It should be tracked. Otherwise, it's invisible work. Going back to the $2 million again, because dollars saved is always good. And then there's also the hierarchy view. Now, some of you who have executives who love everything in a PowerPoint and a hierarchical view are going to love this. It's from exactly the same perspective, using exactly the same OKRs I just showed in the other slide, but it's represented in a hierarchical org chart type view. And again, you can see by the indicators how my OKR completions are being done, these little numbers. So now let's pop into Jira Align and have a look. Are you still seeing my Jira Align screen?
Yeah, we are.
Let's make sure I didn't get kicked out. There we go. So I'm just going to very simply go up to my search bar and I'm going to type in objectives. And it gives me a list, one of the nice simple navigation bits within Jira Align. Gives me a list of everything objective related. If I want to go look at my objective tree, and this is the image I just showed you, so we're going to be able to see how we can interact with this. I will choose my North Star, meaning my highest possible level goals and objectives. And I am going to choose for this one, transform into a product-centric organization. So now again, looking at my hierarchy view, I can see from that North Star, I have 4 long-term goals or OKRs. Out of those 4, 1 has been decomposed into long-term strategies, yearly goals, portfolio OKRs, program OKRs, team level OKRs, and even my individual level OKRs. Nice big picture view. If I want to see this in what I consider a more readable format, I simply click here, and now it'll bring me over, and I can expand each one as far down as they've been decomposed. And this allows me then to be able to see all of the detail and even drill into any specific one that I want to know more about. So enhanced chatbot is a key thing for my product agility transformation efforts. As I click into this, I can see now I've got one key result: reduce the response time. There are 7 work objects that are associated to this. It takes a lot of work to reduce response time when you got AIs involved, right? I can see very simply the progress completion on each of those items, any dependencies or risks or impediments that might slow me down or become an obstacle to achieving the goal of this OKR. And on the right-hand side, I've got my overall objective score of 0.03. If I'm accountable for this OKR, I might want to get with my teams, dig in just a little bit more, and see what I can do to help remove any of those risks, those obstacles, those dependencies, to get this one progressing along a bit better. I also have a link I can share this information out. So if there's someone else in my organization that cares about this, but I don't necessarily want to have to give them the whole how to navigate to everything, just want to give them a view of this, I can share the link out to them directly from here. They can click the link, pop in, they have access, and see everything that's going on with that objective. Now, also one key thing I want to share, we talk about Jira Align rather fluidly here within Aligned Agility. For those of you who have not heard of Jira Align is an enterprise agile management platform. It covers everything from definition and management of your enterprise strategy through individual execution at the sprint level. Jira Align integrates seamlessly with Jira, for those of you using Jira, and will push and pull information from the Jira Epic level all the way down through subtasks and custom issue types back and forth between Jira. So you get full reporting roll-up. So when I showed you those 2 reports that showed the 7 Jira Epics that were related to that one OKR, as work is being completed against those in Jira, that data is feeding in. I'm updating my heat map in the strategy or the OKR view here in the strategy room. I can also see those same objectives represented here. With the integration going back and forth, it makes completion of those tactical items. So earlier I gave an example of an action or an activity based. If I'm asking my team to take training on a new DevOps tool, Jenkins, for example, I want to have a story for the team. Team X is going to complete Jenkins training in this PI or in this sprint period. Each individual that goes through that has a story to complete or even a task. Everybody's going to define that differently. As those are getting done, marked as complete by the individual contributors, it's rolling up automatically and giving you completion against your OKR roadmaps. I hope that this has been informative for you, and I think I've gone about 5 minutes over the time we were going to allow for questions. Are there any other questions?
So yeah, actually, so that was brilliant. The pyramid view seems to always be a crowd pleaser whenever we see it. I really like the way that it shows up, and the roll up of data is always really, really good. Sorry. Okay, so we did have a question from Lisa actually. Um, One of the questions was around like OKRs, and for Lisa, she said that they're absolutely logical, but it seems that a lot of companies are finding them very hard to implement and to use correctly. According to you, Tina, what's the reason for those companies constantly not getting this right?
In a word, communication. At least in my experience, Lisa, companies have decided to go the path of measuring by OKR, or, back in the day for some of us of a certain age, using Six Sigma. Well, it was only communicated in pockets. As a leader in an organization, and when I say that, it doesn't matter if you're an individual contributor or you're the CEO. As a leader in an organization, it is incumbent upon you to communicate what we are doing and why. Once the why is understood, it becomes easier for adoption. People will go, oh, okay, now I understand. Until they understand, they're going to go, I don't know how they're doing, and I don't really care. I'm going to go keep doing what I've been doing. That's the reason, the primary reason that I have seen all sorts of initiatives fail. I hope that was helpful for you.
Yeah, people, communication, it usually comes back. Another question from Ali, actually, who asked the question earlier around OKRs and KPIs. How are you mapping those OKRs and features in the delivery pipeline?
How are we mapping them? So that's probably easier to show from within Jira Align. And there are other tool sets with which we're partners that map as well. So let's see if I go back to my objective. I'm going to go back to the same North Star. And let's, that sizing always gets me with an Apple mouse. You have to have a not sensitive setting on your Apple mouse for that. So if I come down to, let's say here, product focus. Notice in Jira Align, I've got my key results, right? When I come down another level, got to go down a bit lower. So still got my key results. Open sesame. So here's all of my key results. Add my notes. That's not what we wanted to do. In this one, I can, because of the level it is, this is a strategy, portfolio strategy. I would associate my investment themes to it. As I come down, if I'm let me just do it this way. Let's say I have a Jira Epic, and I'm just going to randomly choose one. So for this Jira Epic, pretend that this is my CI/CD pipeline training. I'm going to come down to objective. I'm going to search for what did I name that one? So I already have an objective created out there somewhere. I'm going to associate that OKR with this feature. So now as the feature gets completed, it's going to automatically link back to the OKR. And when I look at that OKR, I'll now see this feature progress completed. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, Ali, if you want to let us know if that answered your question, if you have another one, please drop it in the chat.
And in some of the other tool sets that we partner with as well, the function of linking them is very similar.
One question we had was, what are actually like good measurement types when you're doing OKRs?
Oh, here's that darn consulting answer again. It depends. So by way of example, I keep going back to DevOps, right? It's a big push for people to get their DevOps fixed. A good measure around improving my DevOps stuff would be number of teams using standard tool sets. Is that complete? Probably not, right? I also want to, again, go back to what are some good things to measure. I always coach and train and recommend that you mix measures in. So I might want to mix in something around a technical capability in that example, along with employee engagements or employee satisfaction. How do I measure employee engagement or satisfaction? Surveys. Talk to people. Those sorts of things. So it really is going to depend on what your objectives are and what your high-level key results are on how you decompose those and mix those up. I will say, going back to one of the previous slides, think about whether your whether your key results are able to be measured lagging or leading, meaning can I measure them incrementally before I'm done, or do I have to wait until I'm done to measure? And also, is it a value-based measure? I've eliminated $2 million worth of duplicative work. Or is it an activity-based? I've trained people on how to use Jira Align for backlog visibility. Did that answer your question?
I think it did. Hugh, if you want to send us a quick chat and let us know if that worked. And we have, I think we have one last question. We're getting close to time, but I mean, I think it's valuable for anyone on this call. So Ben asked, how do you start with OKRs? Like, where do you start because we have a lot of people that haven't even started looking at OKRs or maybe not started tracking.
So I will tell you in full transparency, and you'll get a different answer from anybody that you ask on this topic. In my opinion and in my experience, starting with an executive strategy workshop, or at least a leadership strategy workshop, to understand what are the known goals or objectives for the organization, and then talking about what that means. Again, going back to pick on project for product transformations. We want to move from project to a product-centric development organization. Well, what does that mean? Because I will guarantee you that does not mean the same thing to Microsoft that it means to Google or that it means to Atlassian. So understand, getting the leaders of the organization together in a room for a few hours to understand the objectives and the goals and what they want to achieve for the company, either set forth by themselves, by a board of directors, regulators, whatever the case may be. Start there. Because if we're setting objectives and goals at the individual or team level that are out of alignment with what our corporate requirements are, we are going to fail. Likewise, if we're setting our corporate goals and objectives out of alignment with customer expectations or employee expectations, we're going to fail. And no one wants to be the next Nokia CEO.
Well said. Well said. And it goes back to that pyramid and just aligning everything and creating a hierarchy of objectives and things that you want to accomplish. Thank you so much, Tina, for your time. Thank you for this is very valuable to hopefully everyone on this call. It was absolutely for me. Uh, Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I mean, by the way, I'm closing this out because we are at time. I didn't get any more questions, just so you guys know we're not, pushing you out of the house, but we are at time. So if you have to leave, feel free to do so. By the way, this is recorded and will be shared. So if maybe you joined in late, or maybe you had to drop out early and you're watching this on a recording now, it will actually be sent out via email. So don't worry about that. And Tina, I'm gonna let you say that sentence right there because you say better than I do.
Thanks, y'all. Have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
everybody. Thank you.